scene where he bangs on the tree and he's like, this isn't Christmas, this is fake.
Yeah, that's the commercialization of the holiday.
Yeah, and Charlie finds his little Christmas tree with his little ornament. He's all happy there with it. And they literally killed an industry. So are you a fan of the Christmas classics?
Yes.
Yeah. So tonight our main topic is going to be about Charlie Brown's Christmas. There's a lot of backstory to this that I didn't even know. Did you know?
No.
No?
Okay. I'm sure I did it.
So normally we talk if you're new to this show, we normally have a main topic of the show, and it gets cut out later for the video. So tonight we're gonna deep dive into the flop that never was, and that's a Charlie Brown's Christmas. This one it's not even really I wouldn't consider it a movie, and I guess it's a short film, right? It's like 15 minutes. It's not a very long thing. Do you agree? Like you could literally watch this quickly, but we watch it all the time.
Yeah, when I watched it recently for the stream, I wasn't the biggest Charlie Brown fan. It was just one of those things that always came on. Just people would always show, especially in school and then at home too. But when I watched it, there was a bunch of like segments, so there were multiple. So I don't exactly like. I saw this one. This was the first one, but then there were multiples after.
Yeah, so there's like been quite a few different. There's Charlie Brown's, the Great Pumpkin. There's a Charlie Brown Thanksgiving. There's all kinds of Charlie Browns.
No, I'm talking about they were all Christmas themed.
Yeah.
One movie.
Okay.
Charlie Brown Christmas. So there was this one where they were doing the pageant. There was the short where he was trying to sell wreaths. He was trying to buy the gift for. Okay. All right.
Those all came later because this was the original.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they just put them all together in that one movie that I watched, I guess.
Yeah, but when it first aired on TV, everyone, this was also before my time and your time. Charlie Brown, Snoopy, and the Peanuts Gang have been entertaining people since Charles Soult's comic strip debuted in 1950. Eventually, the group would make the move to television. So at the time, television, there was probably maybe a handful of channels in the 50s and 60s. So it wasn't like today where you have a bunch of these awful streaming services. While Linus's love of the Great Pumpkin has risen to fame, because most people think that was like the bestest one, A Charlie Brown's Christmas is still definite the Peanuts special. So it's the one that literally just kicked it off. It's the one that started it all. It's the one that got it to us where we know Charlie Brown and his friends today, which is pretty cool. So like I said, it introduced a new medium to the Peanuts, because they were only in comics strips, like in newspapers. Do you remember reading comics in newspapers when you're?
Yes, I do.
There's still some out there. If you get newspaper, there's still some out there, but there used to be a whole section. I remember when I was a kid, there would be a whole page just for comics.
Like,
you would I'll take this, see ya.
Yeah.
And you would pretend you're reading the paper with your dad or whatever, but you're reading and you would read like the Peanuts and what was another one, the one with the other family. There was like a family, I don't remember, maybe the circus family, I can't remember, but there was those.
The Family Circus, yes, that was one. Garfield. I know Boondocks came out later, but I know that was later. There was one with there was a dog. There was a yellow dog.
Calvin and Hobbes came out. Yeah.
Calvin and Hobbes. The one was it Dilbert? Was he
Dilbert? Yes.
Dilbert was. Yeah.
And Farside. Farside was like a non-political, like correct strip that people enjoyed. Now, the Soult's comic strip had grown in popularity in the decade and changed that it had been in existence. An attempt to branch out from funny pages was on the horizon, really. It began with A Charlie Brown's Christmas. So this was in 1965 when they aired this show. So it was about 15 years after he started. They wanted to start with a documentary idea. So there was a producer Lee Medelson, and had wanted to make a documentary for TV about Solch and the Peanuts. Solch agreed to the idea, and Solch also recommended animator Bill Melendez for the project, which needed a bit of animation. They couldn't find a home for the project, but these three all ended up working together on a Charlie Brown's Christmas. So this show was worked on with three people: an animator, a producer, and then the Solch, the writer, the lead guy, which is crazy, right? You know, nowadays when people make cartoons, it's thousands of people.
Yeah, man, it's
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I was like, we don't have to stay there too long on me ranting about animation or just how current day. I don't think we have any like iconic characters, but to see how like even the superheroes, how it just took a small group of passionate people to create something, and see how those characters are still important or recognized now. Whereas the stuff that's being put out now,
you don't even know them. You
don't know them. People don't remember them 2 months from now.
Exactly. It's and you talk about a lot of this on your other shows, but it's wild. Like, I only remember people from the past. I don't really know like some of the cartoons. So it's crazy that it took three people to make this 15-minute or 20-minute show. And it exploded after that because they kind of did it afterwards. Pretty amazing. Now, there had to be sponsors, because back in the 60s and the 50s, if you know from watching old TV shows, there wasn't just multiple commercials. There was one commercial, and it was one product. And so for this show, Coca-Cola wanted to do it. Things go better with Coke, by the way. Did you know that?
I've heard that. Although I'm not a lover of Coke, it does make greasy foods taste better.
It does. Yeah.
Hands down.
And some Coke makes people lively. Medelson got a call informing him that the Coca-Cola company wanted to sponsor a special for the holiday season. This is where the idea of Peanuts Christmas special began. However, the soft drink juggernauts put the project under a time crunch. They wanted a full outline of what a Charlie Brown Christmas would be less than a week after pitching their interest. And once they heard the outline and agreed to sponsor it, then they wanted it ready for early December, which gave them only 6 months to do. So they did that 15-minute drawing, hand drawing, coloring, writing, animation, recording, editing, probably 6 months they had. Do you think that would happen today? Do you think they have too much time to do stuff for animation?
Man, I think people have too many cooks in the kitchen and things take so long because you got so many factors that affect people who are just trying to make passion projects and something great. So I think a lot of that stuff is the hang up. But again, with the independents coming out creating stuff, I think if some of us come together, which we are, it's looking good. I don't look to the mainstream to be entertained at all. Yeah, man, I think some of us, we're going to come together like those have, and we will continue, and we're going to put out some cool stuff. And I truly believe that, yeah, man, instead of looking to others to entertain us or to give us something that's worth like watching and remembering and holding on to, we can be those creators. We can create art and profit at the same time, and impact the next generation. Don't let them just continue to be lost and just accept everything that's coming out now as the standard, as this is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. It seems there was a lot of passion in these projects back in the day, right? They wanted to make sure it was all nice in a bow, good, but they knew they had to do it in a certain amount of time, but they didn't rush it. They still put in the work. They knew they were going to have the long hours to get it done. I don't think nowadays I think people would complain about this deadline and like, well, I can only work 4 hours a day, so there's no way I can do it. So, a handful of old school hand drawn animators would leave a modern studio in the dust. That's what Beard of Liberty says. I would agree. But no, so Coca-Cola wanted to sponsor it, so they said we're going to sponsor it for you. So that's great. They were going to do that. The newer versions do not show anything Coca-Cola, but if you watch this back, if people in the chat are a little older, they might remember the Coca-Cola endorsements in the show. So Schultz came up with a lot of ideas himself. Schultz wrote this script for the show, though he collaborated with Maldez, who did the storyboards. Maldolson, who was involved as well. However, much of what we think of as being the core of the special came from the man who created the character. He came up with the Charlie Brown's Tree, also the jazz heavy score. Most notably, Schultz is the one who wanted Linus to straight up read a Bible verse. His collaborators were concerned it would be controversial, even in the 60s. But Schultz was steadfast. So do you remember from the cartoon where Linus reads the true meaning of Christmas and the Bible verse? They weren't sure of adding that back then, even in the 60s. Do you think they would be able to add that today, that Bible verse?
Man, what do you mean? When you say it, do you think they would be able to? I think if people did their own thing and decided we want to.
So this was going to air on CBS in 1965. So if this was going to air in CBS today, first time ever.
No, I mean, nah, man. People got issues with you just saying Merry Christmas and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I do have a clip of that. We'll see if YouTube takes me down for it, but hopefully not. But it's a nice little thing to remember about the show. So let me see if I can.
And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. The glory of the Lord shone round about them.
So they almost took this out, but they left it in.
Fear not, for behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. You shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men.
And that was the verse. That little addition there. They were, even in the 60s, they were cautious of adding that, and I think that's too bad, but it worked, right? Because Charlie Brown's really upset. He's not really, no one cares about my show, and everything's bad. I got a terrible tree, and Linus comes out of nowhere to tell him, it's Christmas isn't about really the stuff. It's about the people. So I always thought that was cool. So did you like that? Do you like that they left it in?
Yeah, I grew up Christian. I still identify as a follower of Christ. And when I say identify, it's just because, look, man, I'm not gonna get into the whole organized religion.
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to make sure, like, you're fine. You don't have to. I'm just saying, like, this. It was just amazing. Even in the 60s, people were cautious of playing that sort of thing. So, it's just interesting. Also, another thing that they did not include. So in the 60s, a lot of the TV shows had laugh tracks. Do you remember those? Like where when someone would say a bad joke, like we just did earlier, there would actually be laughter, but it'd be fake.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of like
I'm not that young, man.
Well, you look young. Let's just put it
I appreciate it. I'm 30, if whatever that means to anybody. Okay. I remember laugh tracks, roller blades, newspapers. Good times. You
know what? I'm sorry.
So.
All right. Okay. Well, in this, Solch didn't want a laugh track. He actually wanted to not have it. The studio, the CBS, they wanted to add it in, and he basically said, no, they wanted to use a laugh track and try to, and Solch's like, no, I don't want one. I want it to be natural. So if people aren't laughing at what we're doing, it is what it is. So, but he just stood his ground and didn't want it. So R2 says you're a baby for being 30. So you're 10 years younger than me, by the way. So.
Oh, okay. Well, hey man, y'all look good. Y'all look good. Y'all, all you dudes with these full beards talking about I'm all young. I'm trying to feel spots in on mine.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to look good like y'all in 10 years still.
Well, I use a serum.
Oh yeah, and werewolf healing factor, regenerative ability.
Yeah. It looks good.
All that good stuff.
Let's see. I'm glad Charles Soch pushed for what he wanted. Yeah, me too. As the creator, it's good that he did, right? Because nowadays there's creators out there, and they're just like, do whatever you want with it. They don't have the guts to, yeah. Wow, a creator who stood by his own version or his own vision instead of blowing to corporate overlords. What a concept. Yeah. Or did I say blowing?
You said
wow.
I say bowing.
Bowing. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, there we go. That's
because I was like, look, if Joker would have said blowing, then yeah, we were on the same page. Because I think a lot of dudes, creators, just bend over and just take it. Yeah, man.
Oh, that's funny. Good stuff. Fun fact, beards are good for your skin, keeps it looking younger, but you just can't see it under the beard. That's what Beard says. So he's working on it. Don't shame the beard. He's working on it.
I got the chin strap going.
You're good. You have some facial hair. That works. Okay. So they had to create a new dynamic for the characters because no one's ever heard at this time in the 60s. They did not know what Charlie Brown sounded like. By doing a television special, the Peanuts characters were given voices for the first time. That means they had to figure out what these characters would sound like. They decided that Charlie Brown would sound blah, like he is. And while Lucy would be bold, for example, additionally, they also decided Snoopy would not talk, which makes sense, right? Your dogs don't talk. They make funny noises. So
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
It's not off the table, man. But I'm fine with the creative.
He was on something, so maybe that's what.
You're right. Maybe it was only Shaggy actually
he was talking on Scooby snacks. Scooby. Yeah, maybe Shaggy was the only one talking to Scooby, and meanwhile he was talking like Snoopy. And I thought that was clever, right? Because Snoopy would always have these like sounds, and you would know his reaction based off him character, and in some of the voice that he would say. I was a big fan of Snoopy. And then you had all the other characters. Linus, that was kind of a younger kid, but it was pretty cool. Now, the casting of the voices were also unusual at the time. Instead of hiring adults actors to voice children, as cartoons often do, the Charlie Brown's Christmas decided to use actual child actors. This made things more complicated for a casting standpoint. Sometimes the kids also needed to be told their lines, as their reading skills were not necessarily all up to snuff. Peter Robbins, who voiced Charlie Brown, has joked that when he was first given lines readings by Mendez, he also mimicked his Mexican accent. So the kid was trying to sound like the guy, and Charlie Brown was Spanish for a moment. That's pretty cool, right? I know another cartoon from the 90s. Was it Hey Arnold? Those were all kids as well. So
I see that. I haven't looked at the voice actors, but I mean that's cool if it was.
I believe they were. I believe some of the kids were actually kids. Do you like that they used the kids? Because it's a kid show. It's more kids relate to kids, I think.
I do, and I'm not opposed to child actors. I just think, man, big corporations, like all of that. I just think when all of that gets involved, it really sends stuff in a like more evil trajectory. But I do think kids being like, if that's your talent, then if you have a talent for it, use it, showcase it, profit off of it if you can. I did like hearing, because I haven't watched a Charlie Brown anything in years. Since I've been out here in Texas, so that's been 3 years. So I haven't heard these voices in a while. So when I heard them, I was like, oh man, these are real kids.
Mhm.
And it's crazy when you think about, because I can remember being like the ages of these kids and like some of the child actors that you will see in some projects. And I was like, I don't think I was aware enough to have some dialogue that this kid just said, just espoused. So I'm like, that's a real talent.
Mhm.
And
Well, it
yeah, I
does.
don't think it messes all of them up. I think it's
Yeah,
just
I think,
yeah,
and for some, for this, it works. Like casting kids is always a risk, but when it works, it makes the story feel more genuine. And I think
yeah,
that's why the Peanuts were so loved. Like kids reacted to them because they sounded like them,
yeah,
and adults knew they were kids, so they're like, "Oh, that's cute. Like my kid does that." So I think it helped a lot for the show to be accessible as it was. Um, Joker says animated boy characters are generally voiced by women. Yeah. In this case, they were all the same gender of the cartoon, so which was pretty cool. So that's another little fact there. Mendez or Mendez did double duty. Snoopy couldn't talk, but he does make noises. Those noises were provided by himself. He recorded himself making gibberish noises and then speeding them up so they wouldn't sound human. So that's how he did Snoopy. It's pretty cool. Um, Lucy is usually casual with Charlie Brown. Peppermint Patty calls him Chuck, and Lucy calls him Charlie Brown. You know, she always kind of says his name. When
mhm,
Lucy is talking to her downtrodden counterpart, she always refers to him by his full name. This is true for every future special, and almost primarily for this one, except once. In Charlie Brown's Christmas, Lucy calls him just Charlie for the one and only time. So that's an interesting fact. That's pretty cool. She was always mean to him. She was always mean to Charlie Brown. Um,
she was, but as I'm watching this, she gave him the job of being the director of the play. So I was like,
mhm.
I don't remember this character doing anything nice like that. Like everybody
I
else was like, Charlie, you chose him, and she's just like, hey, shut up, he's the man, listen to him. And I was like, hey, good on
I
you.
I have a feeling, you know the old saying, when girls were mean to boys, they liked them.
Yeah,
I think it's because she liked him.
that's what I think. That's what I was.
Maybe they ended up high school sweethearts and ended up marrying and having 3 kids and 5 dogs. Who knows? So.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, she was always mean to him, but I think there was a meaning behind it. Yeah, the football gang, yeah, is what they were called. Let's see here. So now this animation came with really great music. Eventually, Charlie Brown's teacher would be added to the animated mix, though her voice was never heard. But that would be in later specials. Do you remember the adults in? So there were no adults in this one, but later in the. Do you remember adults in Charlie
Mm-hmm.
Brown? They would always sound like a rah, 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 like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I always
I'm,
thought that was funny.
I'm
But
old
that
enough.
yeah, there are no adults in this one, but in the future they added them. But no, the music was unconventional at the time. There are traditional Christmas songs in the special, a couple of which were sung by a church choir from San Rafael in California. However, much of the music was composed by Vince. I'm going to probably mispronounce this. Guardioli, I think it's called, a jazz musician at the time. One of the songs he wrote was the famous "Christmas Time Is Here." Do you remember that song from the episode? Christmas time, the one at the end
Yeah.
there. Yeah. However, Medelson is the one that wrote the lyrics, which he said he did in 15 minutes. Nevertheless, the soundtrack is in the Germany Hall of Fame or Grammy Hall of Fame. Sorry, not Germany. Wow. Grammy Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. So the soundtrack is one of the best, I guess, for a cartoon. That's a nice thing to say. I do like the music in this show. So I thought it was nice. Let's see. Joker says, "Wah wah womp wah wah," but Mama, my dog really did eat my homework. Wah wah womp womp. Yes, ma'am. That's pretty accurate. Oh, really? You were born in the town? Okay. Maybe you know the church. That's pretty cool. Good to know, Joker voice. Let's see. A lot of the songs are real famous though from this show. So, and most people know. My wife loves the last song of the episode. The Christmas time is here. So remember, they only had 6 months to do it. They finished the special just under the wire. They thought they can get the special done in time for the broadcast, and they did. That being said, they didn't finish with a ton of time to spare. Charlie Brown Christmas was completed a mere 10 days before it aired on, I think it was early December in 1965.
Nice. Got it in.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I don't think that would happen today. I literally think they'd be like, oh, we need another month. Can you push it?
Mhm.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Now the expectations were not optimistic. This is where the flop comes in. Once the special was finished, spirits were not high. Melendez believed he had directed a flop, saying that they had killed it. And he wasn't meaning what we mean today when you knock something out of the park. CBS executives were also negative on the special, and Mendelsohn has said that had the special been scheduled for even a week later, it wouldn't have aired. So CBS was really steadfast, and you need to have it. And if they barely made it, and if they would have never aired it if they didn't make the deadline, so you would never have had a Charlie Brown Christmas, and maybe never had the others. So a lot of even people at CBS were like, "Meh, I don't think this is going to work." Pretty interesting, right? How big it is now, how popular this little 15-minute show is. It's pretty wild. Knowing what they put out today, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you took this and took something from today, you would probably pick this, most likely, right?
Yeah, because I mean, even I would say something like this. I grew up with Charlie Brown, but it was before my time. It was just popular enough to keep on to stand the test of the time. But then you said, "Hey Arnold," like we're talking about. Now I don't remember a Hey Arnold Christmas special. I'm sure there was a Christmas episode, but I mean, like those. That was more my time. Those were my kids that I hung out with on TV, my animated friend group. But I said that to say that there's something to learn, to take from characters like this, I think, and to translate it over into like your own work. Like the Looney Tunes, for example, is a big inspiration for some of the stuff I'm working on. As opposed to, like I said earlier, stuff that comes out now. Oh man, I almost went in on Disney real quick. I don't want to do that, but just saying how like you don't see people taking risk. It's all safe because we're going to take something that you already know, as opposed to just, hey, let's make this new thing.
And this was a risk for everybody, right? Because no one knew Peanuts was going to be what we know today, and no one there were doubts. Really, there was some real doubts.
This scene right here, where Lucy, because as I'm watching this, then he was like, "Give me a good reason why I can't like wear my blanket," and she was like, "I'll give you 5 reasons why." I was like, "Wow, I would love to hear something like that
today."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
be bold. Hey.
Yeah, she was bold. They made her bold. Now, as we all know, it was a big success. A Charlie Brown Christmas preempted the Munsters on December 9th, 1965, and it finished second in the ratings that night to Bonanza. Of course, back then, it meant that roughly 45% of all TV viewers were watching the special. That's a lot of people back in 1965, if 45% were watching. It also got positive critical reviews and ended up winning the Emmy for Outstanding Children's Program. So think about that. There was probably maybe a handful of channels, and 45% of America was watching this show on December 9th, 1965. That's crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's I don't know the numbers on that. I don't know the math on that, but that seems like a lot of people.
Yeah.
It became a television staple in the end. Charlie Brown's Christmas was a big hit and aired on CBS annually from the initial debut in 1965 all the way through 2000.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember too, and you know what my mother-in-law tells me all the time, she says, look, I would always open up the TV guide and make sure I highlighted Charlie Brown's Christmas, and I had to make sure I was watching the TV at that specific time, or I'd miss it, and I would have to wait a whole entire year. It wasn't like we do to now where you can stream something and watch it over and over and over, which you should do on my channel. You should watch all my stuff over and over.
Yeah.
Same with AJ's. But it's just interest, right? And then ABC got the rights, and it was Disney, and aired it from
that.
Yeah, and aired it from,
do you remember ABC? And they would play, they would have their for Halloween, it was 31 days of Halloween, 25 days of Christmas, stuff like that. So yes, man. I don't know.
That good times. That aired from 2000 through 2019. And they also produced a documentary hosted by Whoopi Goldberg. Too bad. To air alongside it in 2001. Now Apple owns it now, and you can stream it on Apple. But we own a DVD and a VHS version of this, and that's how we watch it now. We watch it that way. Yeah, Disney had it for a little bit, and then it was, I think Apple bought it from there. I think Freeform has it now. Okay, all right. And also, someone else mentioned that, not even in 1965, not everyone had a television in their home, which is interesting too. That 45% of America was watching this show. People, let's see, Alaska Jeff says people were much more forgiving for animations back then. Nowadays you have to be either high quality or over abstract, it seems. Yeah, there were errors in this this film. There were. Let's see, I'm pretty sure my family owned a recorded from TV VHS for many years before we upgraded. Yeah, most people had that. Had the little commercials in there. That's pretty cool. Let's see here. So now Charlie Brown Christmas is now part of the modern TV landscape. Back when this special first aired, there were 3 channels. There you go. And almost half of the people watching TV watched it. Isn't that amazing? 3 channels, and half of people in America were watching it. It's just mind-blowing. Things have changed. Apple TV Plus now owns the rights to all Peanuts media. This includes TV specials. However, the agreement says that Apple TV must take a Charlie Brown Christmas free to view for 3 days around the holiday every year. Well, that's kind of a cool perk.
Yeah, that's cool.
To kind of carry that tradition. I'm glad Apple did something cool for once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? Schultz, even to this day, is like, hey man, don't mess with my stuff.
I know, right? He's like knocking on the door. Yeah. Changes have been made to the special throughout the years. The initial broadcast, like we said, had several references to Coca-Cola. However, as the years went out and the laws changed, all of those references were removed. Over the years, other changes were made to the special. Mostly they were corrections to errors in the animation and sound effects. The one scene of Linus throwing a snowball at a tin can has been removed for some reason. I'd never seen that scene. I think it's on the original. So, Beard, if you have a copy, maybe you can find that scene and show us somehow. Yeah.
I think that's the one I saw, because Linus, he's the one with the blanket, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he used it like the was that supposed to be a David and Goliath reference, where he put the snowball in the blanket, swung it around?
Like maybe. Yeah.
And he hit the tin can.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, it not many changes, so that's good, right? Now this was the one fact that I found about this whole show was so fascinating. So, do you remember the scene where they're trying to look for a Christmas tree, and they go to the aluminum tree tree yard? Well, back in the 50s and 60s, aluminum trees had become a fad. A Charlie Brown Christmas was very much against these aluminum trees. And it may have played a role in killing the fad. Many feel like a Charlie Brown Christmas is a reason these fake trees were no longer popular. And by 1967, these trees were no longer being manufactured. So you remember that scene where he bangs on the tree and he's like, this isn't Christmas, this is fake.
Yeah, that's the commercialization of the holiday.
Yeah, and Charlie finds his little Christmas tree with his little ornament. He's all happy there with it, and they literally killed an industry.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty amazing. Pretty cool. I thought this was like one of the more interesting facts. So to end our little video, our little segment here, I'm going to end with the a little bit of one of my favorite tunes of the whole thing. Apple.
Iconic dances.
Dirty Kid. Yeah, off. That was pretty funny. I remember that you can always say like, "Oh, that's my friend, the Dirty Kid."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know that girl. Yeah, Pigpen is his name. Yep. Oh, I need to water my tree. Yeah, go water. If you have a real tree, take a break. Go water it.
Put your headphones in and take us with you to water the tree.
Now they have new fake tree industry because of those tree huggers. Yeah. The new trees look like real trees. It's pretty wild. Maybe we need another show to bring us back. So there you go. There is the little fun fact stories of the Charlie Brown Christmas. I hope you enjoyed talking about that. I did. I thought it was kind of fun.
Yeah. How long you planning to go? Because you can't take me back to Christmas and we not just sit here and reminisce. You're gonna make me go put on some hot cocoa in the minute.
We are a little over the hour. I usually go an hour, so we are a little over. So I do apologize if I went a little over. But I had so much fun talking about your dogs and stuff, so it went a little over. But we'll wrap it up here soon. Okay, let's see here. I'm glad I stopped battling the tree so I can watch. Okay. I love Charlie Brown Christmas. Going to make hot cocoa or hot chocolate with spirits in my Charlie Brown Christmas mug. Hey, that's great. I love that. That's awesome. Well, AJ, I've had a great time hanging out with you, talking about your dogs, Christmas. Is there anything before we end the show? Is there anything you like to remind or say to anybody for the Christmas, to kind of give them some Christmas spirit? Anything you would like to say?
Nah, man, I told you I'm a Scrooge. Just be good to people, okay? Goodwill towards men, all that good stuff. Just do that. Maybe. No, I'm not trying to sound profound or anything. Be a good person this season, okay?
Just be a good person. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with. There's nothing wrong with that.
Appreciate everything that you got. We've made it to the year. Well, we're making it to the end of the year, but I would say just try to go harder next year.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say be more productive, but let's be more purposeful. And it's something I got to make sure I'm doing myself, but just being more purposeful with our time and with our will, because the enemy is out there and they don't stop. So yeah,
I agree. So keep active out there, be kind, and
be purposeful.
I like it. Well, again, thanks for coming on.